So I want you to think about how genius this is, that what this move of Trump's with Operation Warp Speed, because I've heard for years now, many people have, oh, he pushes the vaccine, he's father of the vaccine. But none of the pharmaceutical companies would work with Operation Warp Speed. And before you say, well, then he should have told us that, what good would it do? He told you fake news, and I'm talking about his people that support him. Told you fake news for years. His first thing he came out starting with was fake news, telling people over and over again. Then 2020 rolls around, and what does everybody do? They believe the media over him. Even when it came to things such as that H drug. I don't want to say it because I already had a video taken down from YouTube. But you know, that one that they silenced. That started with the letter H, that's been around forever, is totally safe. Yeah. But he never said that none of the pharmaceutical companies worked with Operation Warp Speed. So what did he do? He raved about, oh, we have the fastest vaccine ever. H. You know what I mean? But really what ended up happening by him doing that is it exposes the media. Because I don't remember the media, none of them ever reporting on how none of the pharmaceutical companies were working with Operation Warp Speed. If anything, what happened was the minute Joe Biden came into office and started saying that they're responsible for the vaccine. Well, yeah, he is. For the ones, yeah, for the ones that were like this. Because the pharmaceutical companies only wanted to work with Biden because they were only willing to work with somebody corrupt. And plus, they wanted Biden to get all the credit for it. And by Trump carrying on Twitter, because this was before he got taken off, all of his haters came out of the woodwork and exposed article after article after article of how the pharmaceutical companies, themselves saying we won't work with Operation Warp Speed. And yet Trump kept saying, nope, we're proud of the vaccine, we're proud of it. Well, the only thing he could be proud of was H. Because they weren't working, none of them were working with Operation Warp Speed. So then what happens? Biden gets into office, and what does all the media do? Oh, the media says, that's not right. Trump's responsible for these. He's the father. But that's impossible because they didn't work with Operation Warp Speed. They only worked with Biden. So by Trump doing that, it exposes the hypocrites of the media for sure. But his own haters ended up being the people that exposed, not knowing they were exposing, because what they were doing was saying, you had nothing to do with it, you piece of shit. I mean, these people that hate him, it goes back to like 2013, all different people. These are comments that no sane person would write. Like I've sworn about some things before, like recently calling PubMed assholes. But this goes beyond that. This was just ripping in a horrible, horrible, nasty way. Like, and going back to 2013 when he wasn't even, president or running yet. So I think he used that to his advantage because they were ended up, when I looked at them, they were all the ones that were saying, no, you had nothing to do with it. See, look at this article and this article and this article showing how you didn't, that none of the pharmaceutical companies wanted to work with you. This vaccine will be all responsible. Joe Biden will be total responsible for it and the distribution of it. And that's what happened. That's what happened. So for all these years that people have been saying, no, he keeps supporting the vaccine. No, he's supporting something that's been around for a really long time. Yeah, a really long time. So it doesn't come in this form. It was what he talked about in his press conferences. Now, you can make the argument, well, people didn't know that. Well, that's your responsibility, though. It is. I mean, there's a reason that he started from out of the gates with trying to tell people fake news. If people don't catch on to that, to realizing, no, they're fake, you cannot trust them, and you don't do your own research, then you're not going to know. I mean, in this case, I didn't even know about this. I only knew about these articles because of his haters, because I looked at the comment sections, and they all were saying this. Like I said in my other video, somebody had, before Trump's account went back up on Twitter, somebody had archived all his tweets, and you could search words. So I had searched vaccines for every tweet. So any tweet or anything he reposted, it pulled up. And so since Elon Musk does have his account back up, I was able to click on it to go to the Twitter account and see all of those hateful comments. And they were all saying the same thing. You had nothing to do with this. Joe Biden, thanks Joe, thanks scientists. That's who's responsible. And that really is who's responsible. The rollout happened under Joe Biden. There was the December, it was, I don't think it was FDA approved yet, but there was a rollout of something. But none of the pharmaceuticals worked with Operation Warp Speed. Yet Trump praised it all the time. Well, of course he would praise it, because I don't think he wanted to have anything to do with this. Not if you look at some of his tweets from 2013. It's not that he's against them. He just, just because he knew that if you have a treatment, you cannot have a vaccine. There's no reason for it. So H was, if you're awake, you know that H was. And I said in a video that I was taken down, that I was on it prophylactically for close to a year. So, but the genius behind what he did was his own haters ended up being the people that exposed the truth. And that's that, yeah, you're right. Joe Biden's, it's all on Joe Biden. Because that was never... This form, what this is, was never what he was talking about. It could not have been, because all of the pharmaceutical companies had statements that his haters, Trump's haters, posted that they didn't want anything to do with Operation Warp Speed. They only wanted to work with Biden. So they were holding out on all of it. So that makes them as corrupt too, right? Because people were waiting for... But Trump had already said what the answer was, but people didn't want to listen to him. They wanted to believe the media. So, and I'm talking about his supporters. Obviously, the haters of him were going to, you know, just hate on him because they're horrible demon people, at least the ones that I saw in these comment sections. Such disgraceful people. So that's the genius of it. Is that it's like baiting. I mean, he baited them. Because and think about it, he saw that far out that if I do this now, that's why he always praised Operation Warp Speed and said, oh yeah, I'm the fight. He pumped that hard. He did, and everybody hated him. Like, why are you doing this? Don't you see? He had nothing to do with that. He was praising H. So, sorry, but the man's a genius because he saw how it would end up rolling out. The media wasn't saying the truth. Again, showing how he was right, that they're fake news. Nobody in the media had said how they talked about Operation Warp Speed and never once said how these pharmaceutical companies all came out. Janssen, that Catherine Janssen, who was the head of Pfizer then, all of them said, we're not working with Operation Warp Speed. I think they were afraid to, quite frankly. But they really were just waiting on Biden. So, you can call Trump an idiot all you want, but it only makes you look like a fool. Because that was a genius move on his part, and he did it. That's the reason why he pushed praising Operation Warp Speed, praising the fact that none of the pharmaceutical companies would come to the table. But your news didn't tell